RNC co-chair Michael Whatley's in studio. Good morning to you. You're from the county of Watauga, which is in that part of the state, and you report that your family's okay, and that's certainly good news, but there's a lot of people who need help out there. In the meantime, you have the reality that faces you and your job 35 days from now. In 2020, Trump won the state of North Carolina by 76,000 votes. In those 25 counties there, he won roughly 200,000 votes more than Joe Biden. What's your strategy now?
Well, I think first things is we've got to make sure that the rescue and recovery efforts are going on. I mean, that really truly is the highest priority right now, and we will have time to figure out the electoral implications for it. You know, we've already had some basic conversations in terms of making sure that they're going to have, you know, voting systems that are going to be online. You know, there's a lot to be learned from states like Florida who have done this in the past. And Georgia and others. So, you know, I think that we'll let the boards of elections in the various counties, you know, come up with their plans. We'll make sure that they're going to be adequate so that everybody can go out and vote, whether it's going to be absentee or it's going to be in person. But I think first and foremost right now is just, you know, praying and working and making sure that the rescue and recovery efforts are where they need to be for that whole area.
Yeah, people are desperate. And there are reports that even fighting over water. North Carolina is the first to do early voting. Did you have an indication of how many people had already returned ballots?
Not yet, you know, so I think that the absentee ballots just went out, and we're going to wait and see kind of how that whole system gets unfolded. I know that the boards of elections in the various counties are meeting and talking with the State Board of Elections right now, and we're monitoring and we'll work with them to focus on it. But right now, you just want to make sure that people are going to be okay.
Let's turn our attention to the big event tonight. Big debate. There will only be one of them between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. Here's Ian Sams with Martha yesterday afternoon on the Walz strategy.
I think voters are going to get a chance to see two running mates who are advocating for two very different visions for the country.
How Walz is feeling, because the reports are that he's nervous. So that was my question.
Yeah, he's looking forward to the debate. I think he's looking forward to debating J.D. Vance.
Significant could this be tonight?
Well, I think it's a very significant debate, you know, and it's not just about the messengers, it's about the message. You know, this is about this campaign, and this campaign really comes down to a question of strength versus weakness. Is America going to be a strong country or a weak country? Are we going to have a strong southern border? Are we going to have a strong economy? Are we going to be strong enough to protect our interests at home and abroad? I think there are two very different positions on every one of those issues between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and I think that we will see a conversation between two folks on the debate stage. J.D. Vance is very ready to go explain and articulate why America needs to be strong and what we need to do to get there.
Chet Bergram wrote on FoxNews.com that historically, tilts between the running mates are often feistier, more fun to watch, and sometimes more memorable. Perhaps it has something to do with the vice presidential candidates introducing themselves to the audience. They simply aren't as well known, and that's certainly true, but it's also such very different policy directions. However, both parties going after the union vote. With the new news this morning that we have this strike on the docks and at the ports, what is the former president's message to them and to the rest of the people who are worried about increased prices at the grocery stores?
Well, Donald Trump is going to work all day, every day for American workers. That has always been his position. What you saw during the course of his 4 years in office was an economy that helped all American workers. We had more people in the workforce than ever before. We had the lowest unemployment among women, among blacks, among Hispanics. So we know what a very, very strong economy is going to be. I think it's very telling that the union is saying that they want Kamala Harris and Biden to stay out of negotiations, that they want to be able to handle this on their own. Look, this is just another indication of the weakness of this administration, the weakness of Kamala Harris on economic issues, but the fact that they've been told to stay out of the way, I think is very telling.
Quickly on early voting, any hints that you're seeing out there for either side?
We're very upbeat. You know, what we're seeing in terms of absentee ballot requests in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, very, very positive. What we're seeing in terms of the early voting in person in Virginia, very, very positive. We are continuing to poll better. Donald Trump is polling better than he did at this point in 2016 or in 2020. And we are continuing to lead on every single issue poll. The voters really care this time. about the border. They care about the economy. They care about our standing in the world. And on every one of those issues, Donald Trump has a commanding lead in the polls.
Well, I wish we had half an hour.
Yes, we could keep going
you.
with you. And
Appreciate it.
wish your family and their neighbors the best indeed.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.